Trump lied. Some of his followers are dying. Some are being seriously injured. COVID is basically ravaging the Trump base. Check this out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. I'm not going to do Schadenfreude, a bizarre satisfaction in the pain of your enemies kind of thing. I think that this is the kind of tragedy that is happening all across America. Day before yesterday, we had a woman on whose father died of COVID because he trusted Donald Trump. They lived down in Texas. When Trump said, when Greg Abbott opened the bars in Texas, and Trump said, "Don't worry, you're safe," her dad, who had been keeping himself very, very, very safe, went to a bar to have a beer with his old friend and got COVID and died. And, he was not any kind of Republican official or anything, but he was a Republican and he believed Trump. Well, here's another example. This is Tony Tenpenny. He is a member of the Nashville City Council, or the Nashville Council, and he died on Sunday. He died after being hospitalized for more than a month. On Facebook, Tony Tenpenny had openly questioned the use of masks. He shared articles criticizing safety measures and lockdowns. He called the virus a Democratic hoax, a political tactic. More than a dozen posts of his were spreading misinformation about the virus. He wrote, for example, the CDC and the World Health Organization are pure lying, word that I can't say on the air, and that those public health bodies are, quote, not telling you the truth. He believed this. And so he went out and got stupid and got himself infected, and today he's dead. And one of the people who serves on the council with him said, "We want to continue to take COVID seriously until herd immunity is achieved." All right. This is, is that a rational Republican? I don't know. And meanwhile, the virus now has killed 13,800 cases in Florida. Another person who was a Trump humper who believed in Trump, Priscilla Skalka, voted for Trump in 2016. She then got COVID. It was a god-awful case. She survived it, thank God. And now she has come back. In the New York Times, an article by Michael Flanagan quotes him as saying, the pandemic has upended Skalka's life, first with depression, as it kept family away, then with a terrifying case of COVID-19 that had put her in the intensive care unit at St. Petersburg Hospital. She believes Trump has failed to take the threat seriously. Thomas Elvin, a Democratic pollster in Florida, said it's really kind of a serious issue for a lot of people. They want to live. Meanwhile, in Wisconsin, they've got a really serious problem in some of Milwaukee's white suburbs. What's going on in Washington and Ozaukee counties is that people whose kids have tested positive for COVID are sending them to school nonetheless, even though the school specifically says, if your kid tests positive, don't send them here. These people are doing it. This has happened at more than 24 schools in the counties. Washington County School Board member Don Kriefel says, when you have parents lying to contact tracers, refusing to get their kids tested, that's just beyond the pale. Wisconsin has had over 1,200 people die from this. Similarly, in Massachusetts last week, a student attended the first day of high school despite a positive test, sending dozens of classmates into quarantine. Similar situation in Oklahoma forced 17 students into quarantine. And all of this is because of the lies and misinformation coming out of Donald Trump's mouth, out of Mike Pence's mouth, and out of Donald Trump's so-called commission, and this new guy, Scott Atlas, this radiologist who has absolutely no experience or credentials in the field of infectious disease, who Trump has essentially put in charge of his coronavirus task force, who is openly saying, well, what we need to do is have herd immunity. We need everybody to get infected. When one of the things that we're learning now is that there's all these long haul aspects to this disease that are just god awful. Huge percentages of people who've had this who are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s never had the risk of dying. 80% of the deaths are happening in people over 60. But, they now have heart disease for the rest of their lives, as far as we know. The disease is only 9 months old. But it looks like they're going to be stuck with heart disease or strokes or other kinds of permanent disability as a result of this. Brain fog is another big one. They're calling it COVID dementia. And finally, if the Republican lawsuit, and this might be, one of the things that is the reason why you've got billionaires, right-wing billionaires who are funding this lawsuit at the Supreme Court that's going to be heard the week after the election, where the Trump administration and 19 state attorneys general are arguing that the entire Affordable Care Act should be thrown out, the entire thing. It's all unconstitutional. Government has no role in protecting the general welfare, according to these guys. And obviously, if the court agrees with this, the next thing that they'll be throwing out is Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. We will be back to 1936. We will be back to the Lochner Court if this happens. But why would billionaires push so hard for this? Well, it turns out that the Affordable Care Act has a 0.9% tax, an income tax, on all earnings over $200,000 to pay for Obamacare, to basically pay for subsidies to low-income working people who get Obamacare insurance. And those people making more than $200,000 a year are not happy about the fact that they're having to pay this additional tax, plus a 3.8% tax on unearned capital gains, on basically stock profits, when you're making your over $200,000 a year. There's also a $2.8 billion tax on pharmaceutical companies that goes to lower the price of drugs. They don't like that either. So the average person in the top 0.1% will receive more than $3 million a year in a tax cut. These are people who are making $100 million a year. They will receive a $3 million tax cut if Obamacare goes away. If the Trump administration, 18 Republican attorneys general and their governors succeed in the Supreme Court in November in saying, just do away with the whole damn thing. No more Obamacare. And the average, this would be the top 0.1% of earners who make more than $3 million a year. I'm sorry, I gave the wrong number. You have to make more than $3 million a year. And if you do, you will save $198,000 a year in income taxes if Obamacare is blown up. So we've got a bunch of wealthy people who are saying, I would like that $190,000 a year on top of my $3 million a year in income or more, my $5 million, my $10 million, my $50 million, my $100 million. I don't want to pay that $198,000 in taxes to help out people who are only making $20,000, $30,000 a year out there, to help them qualify for health insurance on the Affordable Care Exchanges. It's insane how selfish this is. And then Trump coming out, and why the Democratic Party is not running ads about this every single day, top to bottom, all the time. Trump has come out and kneecapped Social Security by saying no longer should you pay Social Security taxes. But he also said if he gets reelected, he's going to make this permanent, which means within 3 years, the Social Security Trust Fund is exhausted. And within 4 or 5 years at the most, all of Social Security is bankrupt. It's gone. Up next, Medicare and Medicaid. We need to be pointing this out. You need to be pointing this out on social media.